Hi, I'm Megs.
And I'm Jax,
And this is Musing Over Mugs.
where you'll find us musing about all things book, drink, adventure, and life related.
So join us today as we muse over the 7 husbands of Evelyn Hugo.
Woohoo! Before we dive in though, Meg, I gotta know, what's in your mug?
Hey, I have vanilla honey chamomile tea.
Delicious, delightful.
And your mug?
I don't know what it's called, but it is a cocktail that has grapefruit, mezcal, and Empress gin.
Ooh, yum. And we have to say, we always love just one more chapter.
Just one more chapter, as the mug says.
So we are getting into Taylor Jenkins Reid's best-selling book, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. So if you have not read this book, why are you here? Just kidding. We love you. Please stay. But maybe pause this episode, go listen to some other ones, read the book or listen to the audiobook, and then come back and muse with us. But we're gonna get spoily. So this is it. This is your warning.
Exit out now.
Come back later.
So I read this book, I've read it twice now. I read it once 2 years ago, maybe? Right after the pandemic. It was the first trip I took after the pandemic, so I guess it wasn't 2 years ago. That was maybe a year ago. But had read it, loved it, and then a book club I was in was doing it again in June, and I decided to do the audiobook, and it was everything. It was so good. They had a fully casted audiobook, so there was a different narrator for the main characters, Evelyn and Monique. There was also different ones for present time versus flashbacks for Evelyn. So it was gorgeous.
Wonderful. I read this book, I want to say last spring, the spring of 21. So that's why we haven't done a joint rating for it on the Instagram at Musing Over Mugs, but we're gonna figure out what our joint rating is during this episode. So look for that post coming soon.
We'll do ratings at the end.
Yeah, but let's get into it. I'm going to read the Goodreads synopsis, and then we can kind of go over some of the plot points, and then talk all of the things of the husbands in Hugo. All right. Aging and reclusive Hollywood movie icon Evelyn Hugo is finally ready to tell the truth about her glamorous and scandalous life. But when she chooses an unknown magazine reporter, Monique Grant, for the job, no one is more astounded than Monique herself. Why her? Why now? Monique is not exactly on top of the world. Her husband has left her. Her professional life is going nowhere. Regardless of why, Evelyn has selected her to write her biography. Monique is determined to use this opportunity to jumpstart her career. Summoned to Evelyn's luxurious apartment, Monique listens in fascination as the actress tells her story, from making her way to Los Angeles in the 1950s to her decision to leave show business in the 80s, and of course, the 7 husbands along the way. Evelyn unspools a tale of ruthless ambition, unexpected friendship, and a great forbidden love. Monique begins to feel a very real connection to the legendary star, but as Evelyn's story nears its conclusion, it becomes clear that her life intersects with Monique's own in tragic and irreversible ways.
Bum, bum, bum.
Woo-hoo.
Oh, this book.
It was good. This was probably one of the books that really got me starting to read during the pandemic. I'd read before, obviously, but this was I think that I finished this in 2 days or something like that. This kickstarted my binge reading addiction.
This was one of my, it's funny now that I'm about to say it, but it was one of my top books of last year. So it's funny to me now thinking about that. I said it was a couple years ago, but no, this was one of my top books for last year. So of course I read it last year, not 2 years ago, but I loved it. I loved all the characters. I loved the story. I loved Evelyn. I know people have kind of mixed reviews on her, but I loved her. The way the story is written is beautiful. I liked how it wove together the past with the present. I liked the little glimpses into Monique's story. I think Taylor Jenkins Reid has a gorgeous writing style. So it was a quick read, and it was such a fascinating story. Per usual, was in tears for a good chunk of it.
I didn't cry. I felt emotions, so I got that going for me.
Cried everything.
I rarely cry anymore. Thanks, Olaf. But no, this was a great read. The story is beautiful. The twist at the end was Like I didn't see it coming,
I didn't
and
either.
the characters are so well developed.
Yep.
And Evelyn and Harry and Monique and Celia and others along
Connor.
the way. Yeah, I mean, it's just you read this and you empathize with them, and that's really hard to do, I think, in a fictional story, is to find like that was my toe cracking, actual empathy. So like you're like, oh my god, like I'm so sorry you had to go through this. And you're like, they're not fucking real. Like, calm down.
I also think it's hard because there were so many characters in this. There's
Yeah.
not like there's Evelyn obviously as your main character and Monique, but then there are the 7 husbands that you had to fully develop in a way to make us either love or hate them, and that I don't think is easy.
And then there's the other characters. So we have Celia, we have Monique's separated husband and her mom and her dad and her
And her
boss.
boss.
And you have Evelyn's daughter and her, there's the other people that she's met along the way, the other coworkers, and so on and so forth. And you're just like, keeping them straight is for sure hard.
Yes. It took me, I think by the second time through, and then even researching it now, I had to like put back together the puzzle of like who's who, what order do we come in,
Mm-hmm.
do we like you or not? Very clearly like or not, I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, there's some that are, you could kind of go, yeah, either way on. But yeah.
Do we want to jump right into the husbands, or do we want to go through the plots and the twists first?
I think if we go through the plot, we'll meet the husbands along the way.
Perfect.
Okay. Do you
All
want to
right.
take this?
I'll start us off. So first up, so Evelyn grew up, truth be told, I don't remember where.
New York.
It was New York?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. She grew up in New York, and her mom had dreams of going to Hollywood and becoming an actress. Her mom dies very tragically, and she's all heartbroken, of course, and wanting to fulfill her mother's dreams and to get away from her abusive father, she marries Ernie Diaz, who's our husband number 1. And from a very young age, she's 15 at this point, she has already learned the power of beauty and how people react to her body and how she can yield that to her advantage. So she had lied to Ernie, told him she was 18 because he was going off to Hollywood, and bummed a ride, basically, got married and went out there. And the second, her career started moving in an upward direction, she left Ernie, which made me feel sad. I liked Ernie. I wasn't like, no. I feel like
No.
he liked her. She did not. She used him like a wet rag.
Oh, she definitely used him, but he wasn't like, there was no real love there, right? I think it was an ends to a mean for both of them. So it's not like he cared.
He's low on my ranking, like, middle of the ground. Like, I didn't hate him, I didn't love him.
He wasn't the worst husband.
For sure not. But I thought he was like an okay guy. Like, I think he liked her, thought it was real, but in the end, she used him, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm. And so she starts acting. She lightens her hair, correct?
Yes.
She lightens her hair. So she is she's a Latina. She is of, I think, Cuban. And yeah, Cuban descent. And so she is white passing enough that it doesn't, like, she's exotic, but not exotic, like too exotic for that time period. So that's kind of something that we also have to reconcile too, is like, this is a romance, but it's also kind of historical fiction where, you have to kind of take those nuances into account for some of this. But she starts acting and she meets Don.
Don Adler.
Don Adler. Tell us about Don.
So Don was the first man that Evelyn married for love. Because they were working together at Sunset Studio. I believe they were paired together in a movie. Mm-hmm. And the producers, the behind the scenes guys, were like, you guys should date because it will be good for the studio. And then they dated, and all was lovely, and she was in love.
So she was in love.
They propose on a red carpet, and then they get married, and things quickly go downhill.
It was lovely until it wasn't.
Exactly. He becomes physically abusive. His career is going downhill, so he's taking that out on Evelyn.
Because her star keeps rising.
Exactly. he wants her to stop filming because he wants to have children now, when she's like, I'm not ready for that. And then they have all this stuff happen, where the publicity is coming in, the public, and they are kind of spinning their own tale, which Evelyn does a very good job at, then taking the media and kind of twisting it back towards these other people. But she was, coming up across as a monster for not wanting children. And how dare she, put her career above all else. And, in this day and age, we're like, you don't need to have children if you don't want to. Like, go for your career, woman.
But she's still quite young.
So young.
She's 21 when she marries Don, and he's beating her.
Yes.
Like, very badly. And I wouldn't want to have a baby in that situation either.
Absolutely not. They had to fake a miscarriage to get the tabloids kind of off their back.
Mm-hmm.
And in the end, she plans to divorce him, but he beats her to it.
There is a adaptation of Little Women that Cecilia has been cast in, and she will be starring opposite Cecilia St. James.
You said Cecilia twice. Evelyn was cast in opposite
God
Cecilia.
Damn it. Guys.
You're not even the one drinking.
We gotta not record after 9 p.m. So Evelyn is cast in Little Women, opposite of Cecilia St. James. During this filming, Evelyn discovers that Don has been cheating on her. So not only is he abusing her and like just treating her like shit and letting the media treat her like shit, but he's also being
a shitty fucking
unfaithful.
Husband.
Yeah.
So she was going to divorce him, and then she leaves the party distraught. I think she physically saw him cheating.
Mm. Like he was getting a blowjob or something.
And he never comes home. And then when he does come home, he's like, I'm leaving you.
Yeah. So they divorce. He tries to sabotage her career. So she goes to France to do like a French film with this like rising director, Max Gerard. Probably said that really, really poorly. So I'm sorry. And so they meet, they do a film. There are some rumors about Evelyn and Celia because they become
lovers.
I was gonna say they become very good friends. But they're seen out. They go out to dinner, and they become besties.
Well, at this point, they're already in love, I think, because they started hanging out during Dawn's realm.
Mm-hmm.
Then once they're divorced, then they become way closer. They're basically living together, even though they have separate houses and apartments. But for the time, it's frowned upon. So they keep it all in secret. Evelyn doesn't want to blow up her career.
So she goes and she does this racy film with Max. And then the rumors with Celia keep growing and growing and growing. And so what does Evelyn do? She runs off and elopes.
She does what she does best, which is use her body to get what she wants. So she had heard rumor that pop star Mick Riviere, I always called it Riviera, which I'm realizing there's a lot of extra letters in that are not.
I did too, though.
I'm glad it's not just me. I don't know why. But whatever. Mick is in love with her, so she decides they're going to go to his concert. She's going to be in the front row. She's going to be, the biggest fangirl. Then they decide to, be crazy and fly off to Vegas, where I believe they're playing some card game, and he's pretty much wanting to get in her pants. And she's like, not before marriage. I'm a saint, even though now this will be her third marriage. Convinces him to get married. They have sad sex. And in the morning, he's like, that wasn't that great. I'm done here. So let's just get that annulled real quickly.
So they do, but Evelyn turns out to be pregnant. Womp womp.
Womp womp.
Not womp womp. Like it's fine, but she doesn't want to be pregnant, so she gets an abortion. And Celia is mad. She's like fuming.
She did not understand. Well, she knew that the plan was to go and marry Mick. She did not realize that plan involved sleeping with him. So that was like a betrayal too far for her. And she was like, I'm out. I'm gone.
So they break up, and it's
tragic.
It's real sad. It's really sad. And you just feel for Evelyn because she feels like she's adrift kind of in the world, doesn't really know what to do. And then she is in, was it Anna Karenina?
I don't remember the movies at this point.
Okay.
maybe. But she was starting a new
Um,
movie
mhm.
where I believe not Henry, I just combined a bunch of names. Harry was producing,
Yep.
and it was co-starring with Rex North.
Oh, we didn't even mention Harry before. So when did Evelyn meets Harry
First comes to Hollywood.
when she first comes to Hollywood, before she marries Don? I think it was like Harry introduced the two of them.
Yep.
Harry is
Her best friend.
uh, her best friend. He is like just wonderful and lovely, and he helps mentor her in her career and helps her get some of these opportunities that she has, kind of advises her to take, about the kind of roles and some of the difficulties that she's having as an actress, helps counsel her through some of her relationship stuff. Mind you, the Celia relationship is still very, very secret, so it's really kind of counseling her through, the mix up with Mick. Sorry, that was lame. And Dawn and all of that. So, but yeah, so Harry gets her this movie with Rex North.
Who is another famous movie star, and they get through filming, and then they realize that basically they have to redo the whole thing in order to kind of make it usable. And in order to, like, they're already going to be over budget, in order to save the movie, essentially they decide to form an alliance and marry each other so that the press will be huge, like, oh my god, this amazing new couple, and they're going to be in this movie together, we have to go see it. So in order to put butts in the seats, Rex North and Evelyn Hugo wed.
And they stay married for a few years, but once again, it's a pretty gloveless marriage. Rex is cheating on her and gets his girlfriend.
They did go into that knowing, like, they had
Yeah.
set that ground rule that, like, you can do whatever you want to do as long as you don't get caught, and they're both in agreement with that, and that they wouldn't do anything to embarrass the other. But then, as you just said, Rex gets his girlfriend pregnant and wants to marry her, so then they get divorced.
Mm-hmm. But there is a spin, so Evelyn doesn't look like the the abandoned woman once again. She kind of takes a little bit control of the narrative, and she spins a story that she and Harry are having an affair. So she's having an affair with this like massive Hollywood producer.
At the same time that
Which
Rex is having an affair with this woman he's now impregnated, so all is well and dandy in her world, and then she gets
bum, bum,
married to
bum.
Harry.
Oh, but here's the kicker, right? So she spins a story about having an affair with Harry. Harry turns out to be having an affair with a quarterback in the NFL. I think it was the NFL at this time, who is married to Celia St. James.
Bum, ba-da-da.
So there's some love things happening. Love crosses.
A love square.
Love square. I guess
No.
so. Love diamond.
Love
Parallelogram.
not parallelogram. I was about to say that, but it's like parallel lines. There's a lot of beards happening.
Yeah.
So basically, Evelyn and Harry get married, and it's wonderful because they're best friends, so they're there for one another. They're very supportive. They are both
They know their secrets.
They know their secrets. They're in relationships with another couple. So, like, Celia and John are together, and Celia and Evelyn are together. Harry and John are together. So it's all, everyone's hunky-dory. It's basically like this big, happy family all the time. They essentially all live together in like one house because they have houses very close to one another, but they're spending all their
I think
time
like
together.
their apartments were like next door or something like that.
And it was a blissful time, I think, for all parties involved.
And I think, was it Harry wanted a child?
Yes. Harry
Okay.
and Evelyn.
Okay, so they
Both
wanted a
wanted a
child, but being that they each wanted a child, but being as they're in a relationship with another couple, they talked about it. And after the last time, Celia, where she didn't speak to Evelyn for 5 years and basically broke them up for an extended period of time, basically everyone signed off and they're like, yep, sure, like have a kid, we'll raise it together and like this new wonderful family dynamic that we have. And so they have Connor, their daughter.
And it was a wonderful time. They basically all raised Connor together. They had made the decision to have a child together in the sense of like actually creating a child versus adopting a child. And that was, I think, good for all parties involved. I think because it was their daughter and it was lovely. And I don't know where I'm going with that, but I loved Connor.
Because I think that was probably like the happiest time in Evelyn's life.
Absolutely. It was
She
blissful. I
is
think it was
with,
up to Harry's birthday party. Isn't that where shit started to go south?
yeah. So Evelyn is with the woman she loves. She's with her daughter. She's with her best friend, who is in a happy relationship with the quarterback. You know, they're living in bliss in New York City, and there's not a lot of paparazzi around that they were dealing with, and they were all living in Hollywood. They're able to have a private life and live the life that they want to without prying eyes and the judgment and all of that. And then yeah, Harry,
John
so
dies.
John dies at Harry's birthday, I think, right?
I don't think it was at his birthday. I think it was shortly after.
Shortly thereafter.
I don't
So
remember
John has
how.
he has a heart attack.
He has a heart attack.
Yeah, because it's the 50s and people drink and smoke and eat red meat all the time.
So John dies.
John
And that
dies.
throws Harry into a very
Deep,
depressive state.
deep depression. Evelyn has to leave Harry because basically he's just not fit um, to to be her husband, to be a father or anything like that. He needs to like get his shit together. And so they break up.
Well, they break up because she wants to get married to Max. They kind of like, she helped him through it, but
Yeah.
they were still separated in a way because they were never fully together. But she approaches the separation officially because she's now filming another movie with Max Gerard. And Max is all like, please let me love you. I know what.
Max has been in love with her since the first time that they worked together.
Yes. So he's like coming at her hard. And she's like, you know what? I think it's time I marry for love again after everything we've gone through. And at this point, Celia had left again. And I forget why.
So the movie that Evelyn does with Max has like this like.
So the movie that she's filming with Max has this scene where he wants the woman to be portrayed as enjoying herself, and never in the time has that been depicted on film where the woman is having sex for her own enjoyment. And Evelyn decides, fuck yeah, I'm in. So she does it, and then she tells Celia after the fact, kind of asking her for permission, but she's already done it. And much to her surprise, Celia's like, I can't do it. I'm sorry. I know, having gone through this already when you were with Dawn, I could never. Oh, not Dawn. Sorry, Mick.
Mm-hmm.
I just couldn't do it, even though I know it's fake. I know myself enough, and I can't do it. And then she's like, whoops, sorry, I already did. And then she's gone. She's gone for good. That's it.
Yep. So Evelyn marries Max for love. Turns out Max does not love her. He loves the idea of her. He loves the her that is in the movie, not her in real life, which I think is heartbreaking and in and of its own.
Sad.
I think we've all kind of seen like you build these people up and you put them on this pedestal, and then the real them is not it, whether it's, you know, whatever, but you're looking at this person, you're like, you don't see me. You see this projection that you've built up, that you've literally directed, right? But you don't see me as a person. And so I got real sad about that part.
Yep.
You know, just
and he treats her like garbage. He treats her like she's an object, and he really, like you were saying, only loves the idea of her, but loves being linked to her because that brings him to another level of prestige, that he gets to be with her. And so they are together for 6 years. And it was so heartbreaking. But during that time, who makes a reappearance but Celia?
Yay!
Dun dun dun.
But Celia's sick. She has emphysema because the 50s and people
We haven't even gotten there yet.
Oh, sorry.
Well, just about. Well, we forgot about the letters because that was like a big thing. So they were writing love letters to one another. And then Evelyn finally decides they were going to meet up finally, her and Celia. And she's also decided she's going to leave Max. She's fed up. She's done. And all the things were holding her back before, like being afraid of her career. She's like, I've achieved it all. I have a wonderful daughter. I don't need to be in a loveless marriage anymore. When she goes to make the leave, she wasn't going to bring the letters with her, then decides she is, so she goes back to get them, and she finds Max reading them. And he melts down, flips out. It's like, if you leave me, I'm going to tell everyone that you're gay, and that's going to ruin your career. And she was like, fuck it. So now they're back together.
Yay. But Celia is sick. She's got emphysema. She has, I think it was like less than 5 or less than 10 years to live. And I think, is Harry dead at this point?
No.
I thought he was dead before they moved to Spain.
He was dead before they moved to Spain, but they stayed in LA for a bit because they were doing a movie still. There was one movie left for her to film.
Oh, yeah, okay.
During, like, right when they got together, she was like, "Are you sure you can do this again?" Her plan, Celia's plan, was she wanted her to finish the movie. Yeah, because Harry was supposed to move to Spain with them.
Yep, okay.
So,
you did this a lot more recently than I have. So.
Yes. So the plan was they had agreed she was going to... Backing up. She's leaving Max. Celia comes up with the plan that she is going to, she as an Evelyn, be seen out with this politician from Vermont or New Hampshire, surprisingly enough, who was this young thing, so that it was to be viewed as Evelyn was cheating on Max with this hot younger guy, and therefore anything Max said about her was going to be just because he was a bitter old man.
Mm-hmm.
So all that happens, and the plan was to move to Spain after finishing Evelyn's movie. She had one more to do, and they were all going to move to Spain where there were no paparazzi. There was no one to bother her. Celia's brother had just moved out there for work for some reason, so they were going to be close to him. Connor was going to come because Connor was kind of going through a hard time as well, and it was going to be good for everybody involved. And then Harry died.
Harry died. So Harry was in a drunk driving accident with his lover, and Harry was driving. And so Evelyn found the car, like heard the crash because it was like right outside or like on her way home. Like,
yep, going to pick him up.
Yeah. So when she came across the accident, what she did, and don't do this because it's illegal, she switched the bodies, put Harry in the passenger seat, and she put Harry's lover, his boyfriend, I guess, into the driver's seat, so Harry wouldn't
I don't think she drove him to the hospital, because then she paid off the driver.
She did, but she did move.
She moved the lover, who was dead. She was like, he was dead on the scene. There was no saving him. Put him in the driver's seat so that he looked like he had crashed the car. And there was just no Harry to be seen because she didn't want him to be arrested for drunk driving, and then get taken out of Connor's life.
Right. Harry does not survive.
He dies.
He dies at the hospital,
which was so heart-wrenching.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
Because Evelyn knows that her lover, her soulmate, is going to die, and then her best friend just died, but she's going to make the most of it. And so Evelyn, Celia, and Connor do go to Spain, where they meet Celia's brother, Robert. At this point, Celia wants to leave everything to Evelyn, but like can't. Like, it'll raise too much suspicion. I think there's like legal stuff. So in order to do that, Evelyn marries Robert.
Yep.
Celia's brother.
Husband number 7.
Husband number 7, so that she'll be able to inherit everything when Celia dies. And then Robert dies like a few years later, right?
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't remember Robert dying.
Okay, just kidding.
I don't know. That could have happened.
I mean, he does die. They don't divorce. Like, it was a very Robert knew who Celia was and that they were in love and all of that. So, it is not a secret. There's no animosity there. And then because Evelyn's life just can't ever be happy, her daughter Connor dies of breast cancer. And so she's basically left alone.
She's had this tragic life.
And she has decided to kind of make the most of it. So she funds a lot of breast cancer research and all of that in honor of her daughter, who they've not had the best relationship forever, but they were making an amends.
She also funds a lot of LGBTQ funds because of her long-standing love with Celia.
Mm-hmm. And Harry. Like, in honor of Harry.
And in the end, she decides, that's it. I'm going to tell my story. And she finds Monique for a specific reason we'll get into a second, and tells her all of this. So she had kind of brought her on. Monique worked for a magazine, had said she was kind of going to do a feature with this magazine, specifically wanted Monique, and then tells her whole life story, wants her to write her story, and was like, I want you to get every detail right. I want everyone to know all the things. And like, don't hold back. I'm not a good person. She knows all the things that she's done, are kind of off in some way or another. And
She owns her shit.
She does. That was one of the things I liked about Evelyn, was that she did what she had to do. She was kind of a badass in that way, that she had a goal and she was going to get to that goal no matter what. She didn't really care who she stepped on along the way, but she, in the end, did own it all.
Mm-hmm. She'd make an excellent housewife.
She would. But too bad no one ever could lock it down for good. But she
I meant like a Real Housewife of Beverly Hills kind of housewife. Oh. Sorry.
That's great. So she picked Monique specifically because the twist in the end was that Harry's lover, who was in the car that Evelyn moved and framed, was Monique's father.
Mm-hmm.
So Monique she's grappling with this knowledge. She had been told that her dad died in a drunk car accident, which didn't really sit well with her because it didn't really make sense as to who her dad was. And then she had been mourning him this whole time, had no idea about the second life with Harry. And so Monique has to process all of that, and it's truly tragic.
That's it in a nutshell. So Evelyn does the story and then kills herself.
I was like, that was not it. I was like, is she going to say it? Am I going to say it?
No, I'm sorry. Coming. Dramatic pause. No, she kills herself. So she's sick. She's dying also breast cancer. And she told her story. She made amends. She told the truth. And she killed herself, hoping that she left the world a little better than she came into it.
She did. She left knowing that Monique would write the story and write it in a way that would do her justice. And she had also, I think I don't think it was necessarily part of her picking it, because I think she picked Monique because of her father, but she knew that Monique would do what she wanted her to do because Monique had written an article about the right to choose to die, so assisted suicide, and that she was for it. So I think that kind of eased Evelyn's mind. That was like, because by the end, they do like a photo shoot for the magazine. And as she's leaving, Monique puts it together, what Evelyn's plan was. She's like, should I go back? Should I not go back? And she was like, no, Evelyn trusted me with her story. She trusted me to do what she wanted to do. And she did it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the story comes out and it is a success because Evelyn is, a golden age of Hollywood star. And her truth come out. It's a scandalous truth, especially for where, the time in which it was set. So it comes out and it's a huge success.
It was good. I don't know that the book actually came out. She wrote it, but it ends with an article that was like announcing that it was coming. But yeah, it was for sure going to be a success because Evelyn was that big of a star, so everyone was going to want it.
Yeah, I think like the first chapter or whatever gets printed in the magazine. Yeah, here it is. Monica publishes the introduction for her biography in Vivant, the magazine, finally disclosing the true love of Evelyn's life was none of her husband's, but Celia St. James. That is from the Wikipedia page.
Yep.
Excuse me, I just sniffled.
My favorite part of the book was the very last line.
God.
So it's in that piece that they print in Vivant. And it's basically introing that this is coming out in the next year. And Monique says, doesn't it bother you that your husbands have become such a headline story, so often mentioned that they have nearly eclipsed your work and yourself, that all anyone talks about when they talk about you are the 7 husbands of Evelyn Hugo? And her answer was quintessential Evelyn. No, she told me, because they are all just husbands. I am Evelyn Hugo. And anyway, I think once people know the truth, they will be much more interested in my wife. And that was just... I loved it. Tears by the pool.
Yeah. It was great. It was wonderful. 5 stars.
5 stars for sure. Which means it's got to be at least a 5 mug.
It does.
Is it a golden teapot?
Is it a golden sparkly teapot? What do you think? Listen.
I think so. I would give it. It's not my personality. That's fine. But this is a book that I recommend to, my 2 recommendations whenever anyone's like, what should I read next? I'm like, have you read Verity? Have you read The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo? Those are my 2 go-to. I've listened to it twice, or read and listened once piece, twice total. I think it gets a teapot.
So it's not my personality, but I do look good in green. So is this our first teapot?
No. Well, I mean, officially on the podcast, yes, but
okay,
no.
We haven't given anybody else a teapot yet.
I guess officially, no. But, I mean, everyone knows that
We
Akatar,
know. Yeah.
Crescent City 2 is our teapot, 'cause it is our personality, so. But
Silver
that's
Flames,
okay.
what's good? Yeah, this is our first official musing over mugs. Oh, for fuck's
I was gonna say, is
sake.
there a
The
confetti cannon
soundboard.
or something?
Our first official musing over mugs. Golden teapot. We're so excited.
I think it
Here we
is.
go.
It's
Oh god, that's 36 seconds of that. No, we're not gonna do
absolutely not. I
Sorry.
want to know. We don't have to rank them all.
No.
I mean, we could, but I want to know who is your number one husband? Husband,
Harry.
not Celia,
Harry.
obviously. Harry was number one for sure. He was so supportive, so kind. There was blissful, even though it was weird. It was perfect. He's definitely my number one.
Harry, Robert,
Yep.
Rex.
Yep. Ernie,
Mick.
and then tied for last are Max and Dawn.
Yeah. I mean, Dawn's just at the bottom.
But Max was just as bad.
Beat her.
He did beat her, but there was also emotional and mental abuse.
There was emotional abuse, yeah,
with Max. So they were both abusive in their own ways. And the fact that Max was willing to like try to out her and ruin her career for leaving him.
That's true. That's true.
Those are points up on or down on the shitty husband scale. So like they sucked in different ways, but both of them sucked equally.
Both sucked the worst. Yeah. So, all right, I'm down for that.
That's my ranking: Harry, Robert, Rex, Ernie, Mick, Max/Dawn.
Yep. And just so you know, if you are interested in a little bit more of the Mick story, Taylor Jenkins Reid continues that in Malibu Rising. So it is definitely in the same universe as Miss Evelyn Hugo. So check that out if you're interested in that, to kind of go off to learn a little bit more of the one day marriage of
Mick Riva.
Mick Riva, or Riviera, as we apparently both called him.
Riviera. That's it.
So that's it. Do we want to answer some questions? I know we're getting kind of time-ish, but
I feel like this is a good spot.
Okay.
No questions.
Fair.
That was
questions.
No questions.
Like, just be your most authentic self and don't take shit.
And if you've considered reading it, I mean, I hope to God that you didn't listen to this episode if you are still considering reading it. Because I was going to say, if you're considering it, just do it. But please don't listen to this if you haven't read it.
If you haven't read it or listened to it,
we're sorry.
Here it is.
That was it.
But yeah, how do you feel like Monique like processed all of this though? I know we're at time, but I'm still just interested.
I feel like she
needs therapy.
I mean, again, who doesn't? Everybody needs therapy. I think Monique, she went through a lot during this process. I mean, she was processing her own failed marriage, her relationship with her mother, going through Evelyn's hectic life, and then learning about her dad. But I think that Evelyn kind of gave her this like almost superpower where she was able to go face things in the world. She was able to, her husband ends up coming back at some point and kind of being like, maybe we shouldn't have broken up and let's kind of rekindle. And she was like, nope. I think Evelyn kind of gave her that power that was like, no, stand your ground, do what you need to do for you. She was able to ask for the promotion at work, to write the book, to stand up for her boss. As she learned, how deep her dad's devotion went. And without Evelyn, she wouldn't have known all that. And then she wouldn't have had the opportunity to write the best-selling book. So I think in the end, she's probably still processing and struggling with all of that. But that complicated hatred allowed her to do like the Evelyn Hugo, which was to stand in her power and do what she needed to do and take control of her life.
I love that, stand in her power.
Thank you.
I love that. May we all have a little bit of Evelyn Hugo in us to do what we need to do to get our shit done.
Hopefully not cheating on 1,000 people, but you gotta do what you gotta do.
But you know what? Live your life, do what you need to do, and make sure that you tell the people that you love them in the moment.
Absolutely, because if we learned anything from Evelyn's story, life is too short.
Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of tragedy, so find your happiness, find your joy.
And with that said,
happy reading.
Happy reading. Cheers.
Cheers.
Don't forget to go subscribe.
Oh, yeah. We forgot all of that.
I was going to try. Don't forget to subscribe and rate and share this. If you liked it, leave us a review. If you didn't like us, please just DM us on Instagram and let us know maybe what you didn't like so we can improve. But we are, again, fragile humans and don't need you to rip us apart in the reviews, please.
Send us love and thank you so much for listening.
And we love you.
We love you. If you're interested to watch our shenanigans, you can subscribe to our YouTube page as well. So thank you so much, and cheers.
Cheers.